Wir freuen uns, dass wir jetzt zwei Damen aus Tschechien haben, Frau Valtrová und Frau Štěpánková, die dann gemeinsam dieses Referat führen werden. Vielleicht ist jetzt für einige von Ihnen eine Herausforderung, dass das Referat auf Englisch ist, aber wir hoffen, dass Sie trotzdem gut mitkommen, vor allem es gibt eine tolle Präsentation und ein Handout, wo das Wichtigste zusammengefasst ist auf Deutsch, wo Sie gerne mitlesen können und hoffentlich dann dem Vortrag folgen werden. Es geht jetzt sehr konkret um die verschiedenen Siedlungen im mährischen Raum, wo wir schon sehr gespannt sind, weil es dort eben sehr viele Siedlungen gibt und die Religionswissenschaftlerin Frau Valtrová und ihre Kollegin sind schon länger dran an einer Datenbank. Und ja, wir sind sehr gespannt zu hören.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. It is a great pleasure for me to have the opportunity to present our research project. So this will be partially more technical. Now, is it better? Okay. Our presentation, together with my colleague, to whom I will give my word in a while, pertains a research project which is ongoing. We are now in the middle of all the works, so this will be more like a work in progress presentation about mapping the dynamics of Anabaptist settlements in South Moravia in the 16th and 17th century. The project is researched at Masaryk University in Brno in Czechia, and it is part of a project frame funded by the Ministry of Culture. I mention this because the frame of this project also implies certain type of outcomes that we are aiming to produce. This is the project frame pertains the applied research of national and cultural identity. Therefore, it is very much focused on local, regional memory, and also it should also help to revive the memory of the historical sites. So, as I said, the project we are right in the middle. It started in 2023 and it finishes in 2027. And its main aim is to collect and systematically represent and deliver data pertaining particular settlements in South Moravia, which are recorded as having some Anabaptist presence. So this map is only preliminary. It is work in progress map. Showing it just gives you an example, an idea of how many different places is connected with Anabaptist presence in the 16th and early 17th centuries. So in this project we also, of course, work with the previous research which has been done by many experts, many of whom you have just heard or you will hear today. Of course, all this knowledge will be used and quoted in all our presentations. What we aim to is to bring also new findings stemming from interdisciplinary cooperation across different disciplines, as you will see. So the main outcomes of this project will be an online database which will be open access to any users, and it will enable the users to filter information about the particular places connected with Anabaptists in South Moravia. And the second most important outcome will be also an interactive map enabling to visualize the data filtered in the database. So, as I mentioned, the project is heavily applied. Therefore, we expect several groups of or several types of audiences. On a very general and broad level, of course, we expect to approach cities, towns, places which are connected with Anabaptist memory and Anabaptist past. And this is also the reason why the pivotal version of the database will be in Czech. I'm sorry to disappoint you, maybe. But I also believe that when you see some of the examples of how it will be used and what kind of information it will bring, perhaps it will be obvious that it's not such a big problem, and that also the language barrier can be overcome quite easily. So the database will be also hopefully useful for different cultural institutions, and we also hope it will be used by experts in Anabaptist research and history, because it may enable the researcher or user to connect and filter information according to very different variables in such a way as to understand the complexity of how the Anabaptist churches or groups or groups were functioning, what sort of economic social contact they had, and what kind of interactions were going on between these groups and also outside these groups with their environment. So I think we'll come back to this a bit further. To introduce you our team, it's quite broad. The head of our project is docent Miroslav Králík from the Department of Anthropology at Faculty of Sciences at Masaryk University. This is a department devoted to physical anthropology. Therefore, they have been working with skeletons and human remains of Anabaptists, which were discovered in Přibyce. This is a town southeast from Brno, where the department has been working on for 6 or 7 years already. So the group under the leadership of docent Králík is collecting information about the population in Přibyce. Second branch of our group, of our team, consists of colleagues from the Department of History who work mainly with written historical sources, which will be introduced in detail by Andrea in a while. And this branch is specifically concerned with research of the activities of Anabaptists in particular settlements. It means renting of land or equipment of their settlements, breweries, mills, and other kind of crafts which were active in this area. And finally, myself, Andrea, and another colleague, we work at the Department of the Study of Religions, where we focus namely on the dynamics of intergroup relations, and also we would like to contribute to better mapping the non-Hutterite groups, which are not so well documented or not so systematically documented. So, despite the fact that we know that the sources are preliminary Hutterite. So this is the team collects, of course, a very different type of information. Our colleagues from anthropology are mainly working on excavating the burial site of Přibyce, and also they work on identification of other burial sites across Moravia. This research enables them, through a laboratory analysis, find out more about the origin of these Anabaptists, from which countries they came, what do we know about their fitness, for example, what can we learn about their health, life expectancy, child care probably, and or even medical care as such. So this is one part of the research which is now much focused on Přibyce, because they have a lot of material from this place, while it is very difficult to identify other burial sites of Anabaptists in other places. At the Department of History, our colleagues are mostly working on to find out about the economic activities, as I mentioned. So, what kind of land was rented, and so on. And finally, we are bringing information about the group identity according to the historical sources. All this very wide range of data hopefully will enable us to some extent to corroborate the information which are contained in the written sources. For example, if we learn about certain practices which are described as being done among the Hutterites. In case of Přibyce, this can be to a certain extent discussed whether the anthropologists may confirm this or not. Of course, the corroboration is limited to any changes that are visible on skeletons, of course. But also the information obtained from anthropological research connected with the historical data obtained from the written sources will hopefully open also new perspectives on the study of Moravian Anabaptism. So this is a very brief introduction of our ongoing work. And now I will ask my colleague Andrea Štěpánková to continue with deeper insight into the database. So.
Thank you, Jana. I'm going to present you the database as for the part which is being developed by the Department of History and the Department for the Study of Religions. So what do we do? While the anthropologists have bones, we have written sources. Our primary sources for the database are Hutterite Chronicles in its 3 editions, in the edition of Ziegelschmied, which is the most, let's say, comprehensive one, in its English translation from the 80s, which is the most recent one. And we decided to also study the Beck's edition, which provides a slightly different point of view on some events. So we believe that this package of editions provide us with a complex view from the Hutterine point of view. In addition, we study systematically Moravian urbarial records, urbariums, and land registers, which provide us insight into the Anabaptist economic activities, because from these sources we get information on properties that the Anabaptists owned, for example, houses, mills, farmsteads, breweries, or even agricultural sites like vineyards, fields, gardens that the Anabaptists purchased or rented in Moravia. Designing the database structure proved to be a highly complex task. it was mainly due to the extremely large amount of data that we collect from a variety of sources. Consequently, we had to face an extraordinary diversity of data. Even now, when we are actively populating the database with data, we still encounter situations and cases that require adjustments and extensions to the existing structure, because the data are so heterogeneous that we are not able to establish a universally applicable model to process all the data that we collect. Another defining principle of our work is that we collect only data that can be connected to a specific geographical point. As my colleague has already mentioned, the aim of our project is mainly to map the Anabaptist settlements. However, we decided to extend our database with 3 additional Anabaptist sites. So beside the settlements where the Anabaptists lived for a certain period of time, we decided to record the so-called event sites, meaning places that are associated with events concerning the Anabaptists, typically places where executions were held or where the Anabaptists were imprisoned. Next, we have the so-called activity sites, meaning places linked to the Anabaptist activity. For example, places where the Anabaptists were employed in service or where the Anabaptist craftsmen worked. And finally, we have economic facilities, meaning mills, breweries, farmsteads that the Anabaptists purchased or rented in Moravia. By tracing these 4 types of Anabaptist sites, we get not only a map of the Anabaptist settlements in Moravia, but we get a broader network of the Anabaptist scope of influence and activity across Moravia in the 16th and 17th century. So what will the database contain? What kind of information do we record for the database? Here is an overview of several key categories that we study and data that we record. First of all, it's dating. Whether it concerns establishment, disappearance, or duration of a settlement, whether it concerns occurrence of a particular craft or existence of an Anabaptist group, every single piece of information is dated. We also focus on settlement features. For example, the size of a settlement, the number of inhabitants of a settlement, location of a settlement within the village. That's for the settlement features. We also are focusing on Anabaptist group identity. My colleague Jana has already mentioned it. Our goal is to highlight the diversity of Anabaptist movement in Moravia and to demonstrate activities of groups other than the Hutterites, who are usually at the center of scholarly attention when it comes to Moravian Anabaptism. We also record information on craft and agricultural production because occurrences of crafts and agricultural activities provide us with information on a wide range of skills that were mastered by the Anabaptists, and they also provide us with insight into economic orientation of individual settlements. The next category is called offices or functions or roles. We study offices like servant for temporal affairs, servant for a ward, and steward, and offices like these, just to help us understand the internal functioning of individual settlements. As for the migration, we seek to capture both the geographical origin of Anabaptists coming to Moravia, meaning journeys to Moravia, as well as journeys from Moravia, journeys carried out, for example, by missionaries or craftsmen. The next 2 categories are studied mainly and specifically for the anthropologists. The first one, deaths, injuries, and illnesses, may help anthropologists to complement their analysis of skeletal remains from Třibice. And the same applies to the second category, stress indicators or stressors, because information from written sources about phenomena like epidemics or natural disasters or famine or military plundering may help the anthropologists understand how these indicators may have affected the physical conditions of the Anabaptists. And finally, we study interactions, meaning both interactions between the Anabaptists and the surrounding environment, as well as the interaction among the Anabaptist groups. So how do we process information from historical sources? What do we do with such a historical record? Let's have a look at just one example taken from a Hutterite chronicle. This is a report from 1578, which reports on death of a servant for temporal affairs. So what do we do with such a record? First thing we are looking for always is the location. So in this case, it's the Hutterite settlement in Nové Mlýny at Neumil. And the very second thing we are looking for is the date, 1578. This pair of data is important not only for recording the death itself, but also for confirming the existence of the settlement in that year. Because for some settlements that are not as well known or as big as Nové Mlýny is, we usually or very often lack information, precise information about its establishment or disappearance. So this pair of data prove us about its existence in this 1 year. So these records are essential for determining the chronological range of existence for some settlements. This applies not only to Hutterite settlements, but even and even more importantly to non-Hutterite settlements. And brief mentions in Hutterite chronicles sometimes help us trace the locations of other Anabaptist groups. Next, the key piece of information in this record is the death, expressed here by formulation falling asleep in the Lord. And we can also take into account the information about old age that may have been the cause of death. We can record this. We can record this in the database, but since this is only an assumption, we have to record it as a probable information, not as a certain information. And this is also a thing that our database is working with. We distinguish between confirmed and probable information. So we do not lose it only because it is an assumption, but we have to record it as a probable information, which may also be important for the anthropologists when they are studying the skeletal remains. And the last information in this record is the information about the office, about the role, about the function, in this case the servant for temporal affairs. Although here it appears only in connection with the servant's death. This is also a fact that we distinguish in the database, because the fact that he died in the settlement does not necessarily mean that he actively served in the office in the settlement. So we record it as appearance caused by his death, so we do not get misleading interpretations of the data when you search for the data in the database. So it is a one sentence, yet it's full of information. Let's now take a glimpse into the database, and we can look at this one particular record, how it looks like in the database itself. Before I show you the record, I need to state a few important facts. The first one is it is in the Czech language. My colleague Jana has already explained why, but I think that we may orientate ourselves in the database quite easily. The second fact, what you can see here, is a very, very small and very, very simplified version of the database, just to demonstrate you how it operates. So you do not find here all the information we collect, but this was the best way how to show you what you can do with the database. And the third fact here, that here we have only 4 categories that we study, that is offices, migration, crafts and deaths, injuries and illnesses. it does not seem like a homogeneous group, but believe me, it is, because the information is always carried by a person. So that's the reason why we study these categories together. So now let's have a look at the record that we had in the presentation. To find it faster, I will sort the data by year. So this is the first, let's say, way how you can use the database. You can sort the data by year. So if you're interested in one particular year or a particular time range, you can sort the data by years. And here you can see the record that we talked about. So this is a record linked to Nové Mlýny, to the Hutterites, and to the year 1578. Here is the brief description on the event. I guess this is the hardest part of being the database in Czech language, because this is the most text you can find in the database. Other, let's say, entries, as you can see here, are in a form of very short, very simple, keyword-based entries, so they can be translated very easily by a translator or something. Here we have recorded the office, the servant for temporal affairs, and if we go there, here we have the death with a probable cause being old age, which is expressed by the blue color. The final database, which will be available online, will be much better arranged and will be much more user-friendly, because what you can see here is, of course, an Excel file. It is a work in progress database, but this Excel file is necessary for the transformation into the actual online database. So if you feel a little bit confused, how would you like to use that? Believe me, the final database will be much better. I will now end the sorting out by year and show you what else our database can do. Let's say that you're interested in one particular settlement or one particular location. Let's say that you're interested in the Anabaptists in Mikulov. So I can choose Mikulov here. Nikolsburg, yeah. Thank you. And now you get all information available across all the Anabaptist groups, across all years that we have recorded for Nikolsburg. Let's say that you are not interested in one particular settlement, but you're interested in a particular Anabaptist group. For example, something non-Hutterite, let's say Philippites. And now you get information on Philippites across all settlements in Moravia, across all locations in Moravia, and then across all years. I will jump out from here, and let's say that you are interested in Anabaptist offices or functions, but not in one particular office, but in the offices in general. So we can go to this offices section, and we choose here yes, or maybe. And now you get all offices recorded across all the settlements, across all the Anabaptist groups, and across all the century the Anabaptists were active in Moravia. I will jump out from the offices again, and I will show you that you can narrow down the information even more. Let's say that you are interested in migration. I will jump here to migration, choose yes and maybe. And now we have all the migrations from and to Moravia across all the settlements, across all the century. But you would like to see only migrations from Moravia, so you can narrow it down to migrations from Moravia. And you get migrations from Moravia, but still it's too many. Let's narrow it down that you're interested in migration from Moravia to Lower Austria. For migrations, and we can narrow it down even more. Let's say that we are interested in migrations to Lower Austria, but only from Mikulov. So we can go at the very beginning, and we can narrow it down to Mikulov. And we get 2 migrations, and they're both to Vienna. And you can play with this database all day long and sort the data by anything you require and anything you want. Thank you very much for your attention, and please ask questions, make comments, remarks, recommendations. Thank you very much.